Okay, let's move on to the next part of our production workflow. After we export our PNG sequence, you can see here, why did I want to make a folder? Well, because this is what I'm ending up with, is a folder. Thus, I have a named folder here. And everything in the folder, it was the name of my Flash project itself, okay? The Stream Sound Dancing Box, okay? And it also numbered all of them. So how many frames are we talking about? Mine was fairly short. Okay, you might be thinking, wow, this is really long, over 200, PNGs. Well, no, some of you guys probably are in the thousands of frames. So give yourself time. This may take some time for this to export, okay? But let it do its thing, and each and every single one of these little boxes is in a different position. For example, if I show you what's going on with this first one, and if I, this is box 1, and if I click on box 28, you can see, there's a difference in the position and animation. So it's literally a picture of each and every frame. Now, how am I going to get that all pulled together into one? Well, that's when Premiere Pro comes in, or some video editing software. Premiere Pro, Adobe Premiere Pro is it's our professional software for video editing, and I can assure you it is top of the line. You can also use, if you were using a Macintosh computer, you can use Final Cut Pro, and that also will do it. But in this case, we're using Premiere Pro. Yeah, I mean, anybody ever hear of a small sequence of movies? What, the girl with the dragon tattoo? Yeah, that was edited professionally in Premiere Pro. That's how they put that movie together. All right, so this is the same software. So when you go to open up Premiere Pro, okay, I've already opened a project and tested this out. It's a darker environment, so don't be alarmed by it. But it has a workflow, or it has a workspace, and I'm actually using, just like any other Adobe software, there is a workspace. And to get to the workspace, under Window, Workspace, I'm actually using the Editing CS 5.5 configuration. I like to have it this way because I have a project panel off to the top left, and so that collects all of the pieces to this project, okay? To the right hand side is my sequence, or what I'm viewing on the screen, what people are actually going to see. And then there's some special effects and controls that we're really not going to get to with our project. Then below in the panel, set of panels, is a number of other panels, but one of them I like docked in here is the effects. So I can see the project and the effects. Now you can move these panels around just like you can with the Adobe software. It works the same way pretty much. It snaps in, this would be on top, okay, because I snapped it in top, but I want to put it back where it belongs here. Then there's a sequence, or a timeline, at the bottom. A sequence is Premiere Pro's timeline. Now, if you go out there and get some video tutorial training, there's lots and lots of resources on Premiere Pro. Tuts Plus has some free video training. Also, if you go to Adobe, they have a little bit of introductory training. And so that's about all we're really going to use for our project. So time, we're basically going to it's going to ask you for doing a new project. Now, I'm starting here fresh with, like a project I've already done instead of launching it in front of you guys, because sometimes it gets hung up and takes a while to launch a program, and you guys will be twiddling your thumbs and very bored, maybe even turning off my video. Okay, so I want to go to a new project actually, and this is once you launch Premiere Pro, you're going to be faced with something like this in the first place. This is one of the things you're going to be faced with, a new project right away. And in the general area, we're going to keep everything to default. The renderer is automatically Mercury playback engine, which is fine. It's a professional video. We want the display format to be frames. Okay, our video, we did frames, didn't we, in Flash, so that's what we're going to use. Audio, we want to actually see the audio samples, like the audio wave, not milliseconds. Okay, so audio samples is like what we had in Flash. The capture format, for now, I'm going to go DV. So HDV you can experiment with if you want to. It makes our file sizes bigger. DV is okay for this project. Like I said, you can experiment with HDV. Then the last things, these are actually, you can leave these to default, but the two things at the bottom we have to do. Do not avoid messing with these parts right here. The location, you must put it or save it in a location. Don't randomly save it just any old place, because Premiere Pro makes it so that it automatically, and you can see here in my project, I did this once already. Dancing Box 1 is the project, so I named it. But it automatically, Premiere Pro, wherever we decide to save it, it's going to generate a couple of folders. One is Adobe Premiere Pro Autosave. So in case something happens in the middle of everything, it automatically saves like every 5 minutes or something like that, or what have you, and so it's got a temporary file system there. And then preview files, so when you preview your files to run them a little bit, it also puts some in a preview file in there. Don't get rid of those, don't move them. You always want to have everything in a project folder. I can't stress this enough to be like this. Well, now, so I'm really gonna keep this, both of these projects, so I'm gonna add another project to the Dancing Box project folder. So you gotta have a project folder. Choose your project folder. You won't have this immediately, but once you create a project, it automatically would generate the Premiere Pro project file, and it will generate these two folders, so just leave them be. Now I have the sequence of the Dancing Box saved in here so that everything's all together. That makes it nice. And then I'm going to name this, see, what did I name it before? Dancing Box 1. Okay, so I'm going to go Dancing Box 2. How exciting. Box 2. So it doesn't matter in this case that, you know, if it's got spaces in the naming convention, because we're not really doing anything like internet based. It'll happen if you upload to YouTube and Vimeo. They take care of that kind of thing and renaming it for you. Anyways, click OK. So that's the first thing. Now we're faced with something called the sequence. Now the sequence has to do with the timeline and the settings for the timing and your audio settings and things like that. How many tracks do you want? Those kinds of things. So I'm looking for DV24 in this case, or NTSC you could go with, but the DV24, we're looking for 24 frames per second. NTSC is North America. We can stick with that. Don't do PAL because that is Europe. Unless you plan on moving to Europe, you can use that. These other ones are particular to how video was captured by a particular types of cameras, so we're avoiding that. Now, let's see if we can get like a standard, and the 48 kilohertz, that has to do with the sound and the sampling rate, and you want a little higher quality. You don't want the sound to be crappy. All right, so settings in this case, if we really want to customize something, we could do that here. So it says 23.976 frames per second instead of 24. Don't worry about that. That's kind of typical of video. It's like much more specific to the frame rate. And so I'm not really going to change any of this, but I wanted you to see. But the tracks, usually we have a video, we have 3 tracks just automatically given to us. And then for audio, you can see here, you could add tracks or subtract them and things like that for audio. And in fact, it doesn't really matter. If I want to, get into one of these and add a track or subtract, I could do that. Now in this case, I don't really want to mess with it for now. It's stereo, we leave it as such. If we have mono, then we can choose that, but I'm just going to leave it to default. I just wanted you to see that these are all the presets having to do with this standard. Alright, do we want to name the sequence? Well, you don't really have to. It's naming the timeline, because you can have multiple timelines and knit them together as you encode a movie, and that's basically how movies are really done. So dancing box is fine. Okay, so we'll go with that. Click OK. Alright, and then I get to my Premiere Pro interface. So you need to do all those things. You need to take care of what we just went through in choosing a place to save it, a naming convention, the settings for the sequence could be, what they could be, and also you could name the sequence. And you can see here the naming of my sequence, Dancing Box. There it is right there with my timeline. Now what we're going to be working with here in the timeline is the video track and then the audio track. Those are separate from each other, and we're also going to use a second video track to add some things to the project. Alright, we're all set up for success, and in the next video we're going to bring in the different pieces so that we can piece this thing together for encoding.